prerequisites that you require in order to work with Selenium. The very first prerequisite is that you need to have Java on your machine. Java as in JDK 1.7 or 1.6. And I'm sure every one of you have Java on your machine. Otherwise, this WebEx session won't be working, because this WebEx session will only work when you have Java on your machine. So if you want to make sure which version of Java is there on your machine, you can go to command prompt and type Java -version. And as soon as you press enter, it will going to show the current version of Java on your machine. Like on my machine, I have JDK 1.6, right? The same way you can check it on your machine. The second prerequisite is that you need to have an editor where you can write this Java code. So earlier, in previous time, we used to write Java code in Notepad, but now there are many editors available. The most common editor is Eclipse. So you need to have Eclipse. Now which version of Eclipse to download? Again, you'll go to Google. And type download Eclipse, and I'll click on this link. And this is the latest version, Eclipse Kepler. You need to download Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. Now, based on the Windows configuration, you need to download. If your Windows is 32-bit, you need to download 32-bit. If it is 64-bit, you need to download the 64-bit version, right? So once you have downloaded it, you can store it on your machine. I have already downloaded this, and it comes as a RAR file. You simply extract this RAR file, and this is a folder that will gonna come. So just double click on this folder, and you will get an application file like this. Now, there is nothing installable. You just need to double click on this application file and your Eclipse. The workspace is the location where you will be maintaining your current project. All the project hierarchy, all the folders, whatever that you will be writing in your current project, everything will be stored inside this workspace. So I'll give this workspace some name. I'll give the workspace name as batch 27 online, and I'll click on OK. So if I go to the physical location of this workspace, so you can see there is a folder that is generated with batch 27 online. And right now, this folder is empty. There is nothing inside this folder. Right. So now here, once we come to Eclipse, the very first thing that you will see is the link. You just close this welcome screen, and this is your Eclipse. Now, this area, just one second, this is the area you will be maintaining your project hierarchy. This is the area where you will be writing your code, the Java code. And this is the area where the console output will be printed. Right. So very first thing we need to do is to create a new Java project. I'll create a new project, select the Java project, and click on next. So what I'm going to do right now over here is I am actually going to create the Selenium API. that that ThoughtWorks is providing, I'm actually going to create a dummy Selenium project in front of you just to make you explain that how Selenium works. So what I'll do, I create the project and give it a name as Selenium API, right? And I click on. So we will be covering some part of Java in this project as well. So, so, so for anyone has any question or any doubts, so they can ask. And if anyone is not able to understand anything so far, so that I could you repeat, please repeat this. What I've done API. That is what I have done. After creating this project, I need to create and I'll right click over here. I know your voice is not able to hear me properly. Is this the same issue with everyone? And are you guys able to hear me? Anand, yes means you're able to hear me or not? Okay, my voice is breaking. Okay, it's breaking. All right. All right. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Okay, guys, I'm trying to disconnect and reconnect it again. Just be there on the meeting itself. Hi guys, are you able to hear me properly? All right, I got one yes. Okay, Anand, are you able to hear me properly now? All right, thanks a lot, Shiva, for confirming. All right, thanks. Okay, all right. So just one moment. Okay, so now I am going to create a new Java class. I'll right click over here, click on new, and then click on class. So here I need to give some class name. So I'll give the class name as the same name that Selenium guys have given to their class. That is, if I go to seleniumhq.org and if I go to the download page and click on Java doc, search for Selenium, and this is the class they have created. In order we are working with Selenium RC, they have created this class. And what I'll do, I'll just copy the same class name and I'll paste it here and click on finish. Right. So over here, I'll create two methods, or you can say two functions. In Java, we call functions as methods. So I'll create one method and give it a name as start. And in this method, I'll just print. So if I write system.out.println and whatever I write inside it, it will be printed. So if I just write starting the Selenium session, right? This is one method that I have created. Now if I create a test class, if I just create a test class with this main method, and in order to access this method from the default Selenium class, I need to create an object of this class over here. So how to create an object of a class? I'll just say default Selenium, I'll assign some variable, reference variable equal to new default Selenium. And now when I say Selenium dot, I'll get access to this start method in the default Selenium class. See, these options I'm getting it because I'm using Eclipse. So as soon as I just press dot, I'll get access to the method that is implemented inside this default Selenium class. So now I'll just save it, and this is the run button. As soon as I click on run, it will say that starting the Selenium session, right? So this is one of the methods I have implemented over here. So if you again go to selenium.org, default Selenium class, and if you take a look over here, if I go downwards, you can see they have created one method with the name as start. And this start is responsible for launching the browser with the new Selenium session. Right. So let's just copy this and paste it over here. This is one of the methods I have created. Now I'll create another method, public void click. And this method is responsible for clicking on a link. Right. Let's say on this click method, I have one argument that is string locator. Now if you take a look at the method over here, the click method, it accepts one argument that is your locator. And this is responsible for clicking on a link, button, checkbox, or a radio button. So what I'll do in this method, I'll just write click on a, and I'll give plus locator. Right. In some time, you will be able to understand that what exactly I'm going to do. So just be with me for the time being, right? And sometime it will be very clear to you. I'll create one more method and give it a name as public void type. Now, if you take a look at type method over here, the type method, oh, okay, this is the type method. So again, it accepts two arguments. One is your locator and the second one is your value. So I'll give string locator, and then string value. And again, inside this, I'll just write typed in a plus locator, and then enter the value as plus value. Right. So these are the three methods that I am going to create, and I have kept all these methods inside one class and given the name of that class as default Selenium. Now what I'll do, I'll create one package as well. Package is nothing, it's only a container, it's only a folder. So how to create a package, I'll right click over here, I'll click on new, and then I'll click on the package. And I'll give some package name like com.thoughtworks.selenium. And as soon as I click on finish, there is a package that's been created. And what I'll do, I'll move this class from that package to here. Right. And just delete these two files. Now the class that I have created is inside this package. Now what I am going to do, I'll just click on this project, click on File, click on Export, then click on Java, and then click on jar file. I'll click on Next, uncheck these two options, and here I'll click on Browse, and then I'll click on Desktop, and I'll give some name as, let's say, Selenium Remote Control to version 2.33.jar, and I'll just save it. Then I'll click on Finish. And on the desktop, if you see, there is a jar file that's been generated. Right. Now this jar file is an API. Right. This is the same API that ThoughtWorks group have generated. Now this API, if you download it from here, if you go to the main website of Selenium, seleniumhq.org, in order to work on Selenium RC, you first need to download the Selenium API. So if you click on download, you will find a link 2.33 over here. So this is basically the Selenium server, formerly called Selenium RC server, right? And you click on this and it will be downloaded on your machine. So it will come like this. I have stored it inside C drive software jar. So this is another jar file. See, this is a jar file. It's not like you can double click on it and it will install the Selenium on your machine. It's nothing like that, right? You cannot double click and install it. Basically, you need to configure it in your project. You need to call this jar file in your project. And the same jar file I have created over here. This is my jar file. Now what I'll do, I'll create a new project. I'll go back to Eclipse. I'll open one more session of Eclipse. And here I'll just say new project. Now this is the new Java project that I am going to create, and I will be calling that jar file in my project in order to access the method that is created inside that default Selenium class. So what I'll do, I'll create a new project, a new Java project again, and give this project name as Selenium Use API. And inside this, I'll create a new class and give the class name as test day test demo and check this main method. I'll click on finish, and then I'll right click over here, go to build path, click on configure build path, click on libraries, I'll click on add external jars, and I'll choose this jar file, click on open, and then I'll click on OK. And this jar file will be added to my project. Now, whatever classes, whatever methods that I have created in that jar file, I can access those methods inside this project. So the class that I have created is default Selenium. Now, I'll create an object of this class and say equal to new default Selenium, right? And then you can see some errors over here. This is because I need to import this class from this package com.thoughtworks.selenium. So if I take my mouse over here, I'll get this option import default Selenium. And if I click on this, this will be imported from com.thoughtworks.selenium. And now if I say Selenium dot, I'll get access to the method start. Then I'll say Selenium dot click. It accepts one locator, and I'll give the locator as link. I'll be clicking on link, and then I'll say Selenium dot type. It accepts two arguments. One is the locator, another one is the value. So I will be typing in the text box, and the value I'll provide over here is trainer@way2automation.com. So this is, I have created my own project, and I have called the Selenium API in my project. And now as soon as I run this, this will gonna print that it launches the browser with a new Selenium session. It clicked on a link, and it typed in a text box, enter the value as trainer@way2automation.com. Right. So this is one of the Java projects that we have created. Now, same thing we are going to do from the ThoughtWorks. We will be importing their jar file in our project, and we will be accessing the methods that they have created. Right. Before doing this, we need to do one more thing. In my project that I have created for default Selenium, I'll create one constructor. Now, what exactly is a constructor? Constructor is also like a method, but it has the same name as of the class name. So I'll create a constructor. I'll say public default Selenium. So this has the same name as of the class name. And then inside this constructor, I'll create 4 arguments. Now, what are these 4 arguments? If you go to the main website again, and if you go to default Selenium class, you can see that over here, there is a constructor summary. And these are the 4 argument constructor. This is the 4 argument constructor that we need to implement. The first argument is just server host. So as I told you in RC, in order to support the JavaScript, we need to start a standalone server first. So I'll be creating one argument in my project. I'll say string and just copy the server host. This is my first argument. The second argument is a port, and its end port. I can copy it directly from here. Now this server should be starting on some port. A port could be 8080, 8180, it could be any port on the machine. But by default, Selenium RC server starts on the port 4444. This is the port on which by default Selenium RC will be started, right? So I'll give this port over here, and then the third argument is the browser. So the browser on which you want to open your application, it could be Firefox, Chrome, IE, right? But the best support of Selenium RC is on Firefox only, right? Although it supports other browsers as well, but we need to do some tweaks to work on other browsers on Selenium RC, right? But WebDriver supports all the major browsers. It directly supports all those browsers, right? Then your browser URL, so I'll give another argument as string browser URL. And here I'll just say I'll print the server host and just print the server port, then print the browser and then print the URL. Right. Now I'm going to create a jar. I'll delete this previous jar file, and again I'm going to create a new jar file. So I'll right click here, I'll click on export, I'll click on the jar, click on next, and select this and uncheck these, and just click on finish. So a new version of jar file is created now, right? And I'll give this version name as 2.34, right? Whatever amendments that they make in their Java project, they always create a new version of the jar file, right? So now again, Vijaya can't see the desktop. Okay. Guys, are you able to see my desktop? Can you see this jar file? Okay, it's fine. All right. Okay, thanks. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll again go to this project. Now let's say I remove this jar file. I'll go to build path and remove from build path. Now I'll again import the latest jar file that I've created, that is with the version 3.2.34. I'll open it, click on OK, and this is added now. Now you can see I'm getting some error over here. This is because what constructor says is that it gets initialized as soon as we create the object of a class. As soon as we create an object of a class, the very first thing that is initialized is the constructor of this class. And if you take your mouse over here, you can see that there is a 4-argument constructor over here. If I click on this, we need to provide these arguments over here. So the very first argument was the port. So the port should be localhost. If we are starting our Selenium server on the local machine, the port should be localhost. Then the port. By default, it runs on the port 4444. Then the browser. Browser should be Firefox. And then the URL. Let's say we are going to gmail.com. Right? Now, as soon as I save this and run this, you'll see that the localhost 4444, Firefox, Gmail, launching the browser, clicking on a link, type their text box, everything has been successfully executed. So this was my project that I have just created the replica of the project that Selenium guys has created, right? Now what we are going to do, we are going to call the actual API of Selenium in our project, and we will be seeing that how we can automate our website using that. So the whole idea of explaining this is just to let you know that Selenium is an API, right? So if I now create a new project, I'll right click over here, click a new project and Java project, and give some project name as day 1 and click on finish. And here, what I'll do, I'll create a new class and give the class name as test demo and click on finish. Right. So this is a complete new project. This has nothing to do with this project, right? So in this project, I'll just call the jar file that we have downloaded it from seleniumhq.org. This is the jar file that we have downloaded. We have kept it inside the jar folder, C drive software jars. Here is the jar file. Now what I'll do, I'll go back here. How to import the jar file? I'll again right click on my project, go to build path, go to configure build path, click on add external jar, and I'll go to the directory where I have stored the actual jar file, that is C drive software jar. And this is the latest jar file that Selenium guys has provided. So I'll just click on OK, and this is added to my project. Now what I'm going to do, this has a class that is with the name default Selenium. I'll create an object of this class in order to access the method inside it. I'll say default Selenium. I'll give some reference variable. I can give any name instead of Selenium. I can also give ABCD, but Selenium is a meaningful name, more meaningful name. And then to create an object of a class, I'll say equal to new default Selenium. This is the first line that I'll be writing. Now if I take my mouse over here, you can see that default Selenium com.thoughtworks.selenium. If I click on this, this will be added. Now this is being added from the actual jar file, not the dummy jar file that we have created. Right? Same way, if you take your mouse over here, you'll get this 4-argument constructor. And now you can provide the actual argument, that is localhost. The second argument is your port, that is 4444. The third argument is your browser. You need to append it with star, Firefox. And the fourth argument is your URL, that is http gmail.com. Now, if you use this variable and you say selenium dot, you will get access to all the methods in the default Selenium class. Yes, Priyanka, we can use a Chrome browser as well, but that is more supported with WebDriver. So I'm just teaching you the concepts right now. So once we come to that, I'm going to show you how we can work on IE, how we can work on Chrome. So we're going to do the browser compatibility part as well, right? So now if you see, the very first method over here is add custom request header. And if you see over here, you'll find the very first method, that is add custom request header. And the last method in the list you can see is window maximize. And same over here, if you see the last method, that is window maximize. Now you have access to all the methods in this class. Now you can start calling the methods and start automating your website.